Congressman Cook. We now proceed to Congresswoman Stefanik of New York.
Thank you, Chairman Wilson, and thank you, Chairman, for the great question on the Internet of Things, where we are facing unique challenges as mobile devices and household devices become more interconnected. That increases the likelihood of cyber vulnerability. So it was a great question, and I want to continue working with you on that issue. Admiral Rogers, thank you for being here today, and thank you for your service to our country. Through the posture hearings from the past few months, we have heard about the evolving strategic threats in the cyber realm from a resurgent Russia, destabilizing threats from both state and non-state actors in the Middle East, and overt provocative cyber activity coming out of the Pacific region. So today I want to focus my questions on the evolutions of these threats and how we maintain the edge on a 21st century battlefield. How confident are you moving forward that our cyber capabilities are robust enough to face the threats of the future on these multiple fronts? And then can you speak specifically to your concerns about adversarial cyber capabilities and your assessment of our own cyber capabilities moving forward?
So I feel comfortable with our level of capability. I've yet to run into a threat scenario that we didn't have the expertise to deal with. What concerns me is capacity. How much of it do you have? And as the threats proliferate, our ability to deal with high-end, simultaneous, complicated threats, that's probably the biggest limiting factor for right now, which is why generating the mission force is so critical. That gives us that capacity, as well as the tools and the other investments we're asking the committee and the nation to support to get us to that capacity. In terms of evolution of the threat, as I look into the future, I'm going to riff off it just a little, and if this doesn't get to your question, ma'am, you please just tell me. As I look at the evolution of the threat, what concerns me is you're seeing in the last 18 months data in massive quantities now in and of itself has a value that previously we would have said to ourselves, look, this data set is so large, nobody can really do anything with it. OPM, Anthem, those are good examples to us of data now is a commodity that has a value for a variety of purposes, whether it be counterintelligence, whether it be social engineering and helping to refine cyber activity. You're watching, you'll see increased attacks against big data concentrations is a trend of the future. You're watching nation states right now create relationships, in many cases, with a much broader range of actors out there than we traditionally had seen. I think this is in no small part an attempt to obscure what the real originator and director of the activity is. It potentially or theoretically makes it more difficult for us to go to country X and say, hey, we see this activity going on, you are doing it, this is unacceptable to us, and their ability to say, not us, it's criminal group, it's some other actor. You have criminals in the United States, don't you? You don't control all that, we don't control all that. So you're watching nation states create these partnerships, I think, in no small part to try to obscure our ability to highlight their activity. Criminal activity continues to get more sophisticated. You're going to see a lot more ransomware. You watch over the next year, you'll see a whole lot more ransomware activity.
So based on the FY17 requested increase in funding for cyber capabilities, development, and operational support that you noted before, where do you feel the cyber community is assuming risk for readiness?
So we're still taking more risks than I would like. You look at individual platforms and weapon systems, just because of the scale of the investments, because we're trying to, literally, you are trying to overcome decades of investment in which redundancy, reliability, and defensibility against a cyber threat were just not core design characteristics. And just as you highlighted in your comment about the Internet of Things, this increased connectivity and external connections that we developed in our system, not for bad reasons. I'm not trying to criticize that for 1 minute. If you're interested in designing as a naval officer, if you're interested in designing hull forms for future service combatants, you're interested in understanding how hull forms today are responding to different sea states around the world. So you put telemetry and measurement devices, and then now you're measuring it remotely. That also represents a potential threat vector now for someone to gain access. So we are literally trying to overcome decades of investment in a very different threat world. So it's all about prioritization, and it's going to take us some measure of time to overcome or change that investment strategy. So that would probably be the biggest area in some ways where I go, ooh, that we still, you never have all you want. I don't, particularly in this mission, we're only 6 years old. In May, we'll celebrate our 6th birthday. So, we're new to this.
Well, as you need those resources, it's important for you to continue telling us on this committee to make sure that we're able to maintain the capabilities for our cyber capabilities moving forward. So thank you so much for the thoughtful answer.